hats and bow ties. Dad hats and bow. Dad hats and bow ties. Dad hats and bow. I could be suiting up.
So before we get into any more of our topics, I did tell our guests for today that we're going to give their flowers to that we call around this time. So let's get a little bit. Let's play a little bit of a snippet of an episode from Back That Glass Up, which is a new podcast by Rachel B. And then we're going to call her in to talk a little bit about this episode. But so Rachel has a new podcast. Basically, she is interviewing different people, and it's pretty much been in the relationship realm of things. She's been talking about like being a mom and dating. She's been talking about being what are high valued men in after dating after 30. And then recently she did an episode about polygamy, and we all know this is topic of discussion that Distinguished gets fucking giddy about. So I know
been talking about this shit for a minute, so it's interesting that we actually got something to reference off of now.
Let me play a little bit of the episode.
This nigga did
right, exactly.
Interesting. That's more sounds like double the stress. Honestly,
and that's another thing I was going to
say. Why would someone
you.
Want this?
That's another thing I was going to say to you. If there are men out there who think, oh yeah, this life is great, luxurious. You get two women to choose from, blah, blah, blah. You can finally have her who has this and her who has that, da, 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 da. But it's stressful as hell because you're dealing with two different women's personalities. And they have different wants and needs, and how you deal with one can't always be how you deal with the other. And, don't let them both have an issue with each other because now you're the mediator. So that's one thing. Financially, it's taxing as hell. Because, like, think about everything you do.
Why would one choose this?
Wait.
So we're gonna call it in now and discussion. Let's see.
Hello.
Rachel B, you are live on air with Dad Hats and Bow Tie.
Oh shit. Oh.
What's up?
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to speak to you guys.
So before we even get into the conversation that we're going to have, and I'm here to be an instigator today. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. But before we do, it is Women's History Month. And you are a Black queen, and we want to give you all of your flowers. We think you are amazing. We want to congratulate you for your new show, being an amazing mother, being an amazing individual, and all of that. Distinguished, do you have any more flowers that you want to give Ms.
Listen,
Rachel
man,
B?
I done had a beautiful conversation with the queen last week. You know what I mean? When I was in Atlanta, I hit her up in the inbox, let her know how I felt about her. And I know that she's been going through a very rough time with the loss of her mother. May she continuously rest in power, rest in paradise, rest in peace. So thank you for giving us your voice, despite how you may have been feeling during that time, and still wanting to create a platform, a safe space, a safe haven, a home for people to not just listen, but also share ideas, share thoughts, concepts, and speak about their trials and tribulations, despite what anybody, thinks. You created that space, and it's coming from a good place. And you're a motherfucking Taurus. So God bless you, Miss Rachel. We look forward to supporting your podcast. And yeah, like XAB said, we love you, thank you.
So let's give you a round of applause.
You guys are awesome. Get up over here. Y'all have to make a third time.
All right, so
I appreciate you, King. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So, okay, this is what we're gonna do. All right, because when you dropped the polygamy episode, Distinguished ran to his computer faster than I've ever seen this nigga run in his life and downloaded the shit and listened to it. I just know I wasn't there, but I know that's what the fuck happened.
That's definitely what I did.
What we're gonna do is I want Distinguished to tell me and to tell us what he got from the episode, seeing as this is something he's interested in. That
I'd love to hear this.
Rachel, me and you are going to have a conversation, and Flo is here as well. And
That's
so
good.
when that part happens, since we probably are most likely on the same page, we can kind of delve into it. So, Distinguished, what did you gather from this amazing polygamy episode that Miss Rachel?
So first and foremost, shout out to the good brother Dom Sheldon, Mr. 24,000 followers on the gram and counting. He was definitely on the show. And it was interesting because Rachel shared briefly that she definitely was interested in this gentleman. The one thing I did like is that he didn't
ask in a second about that, but
right, he did not force, he did not try to enforce, nor did he try to coerce her into trying to be a part of this thing that he wanted. You know what I mean? He allowed her to make her own, decision, her own inference on that. However, for me, what I really got from it is one, finally, a Black man candidly speaking about it, and it didn't come off in a way that was like, yeah, I got two chicks, or I had two chicks, and all we do is fucking have sex. Thank you so much, Dom, because that's what a lot of motherfuckers think. Now, I'm about to do this real quick. Hold on. Now, me, like I've been telling niggas, I've been educating myself, okay? I've been educating myself. I got a book right in my hand that I got called Polysecure by author Jessica Fern. It talks about attachment issues, trauma, and consensual non-monogamy. I told myself, if I really want to be a part of this world, if I want to be a part of this culture, I got to get into the knowledge. So in this book, you know what I mean? It talks about a lot of different things that I did not know that goes into this world. And for me listening to him, it just reinforced how much I actually still want to be a part of it and learn. I follow communities online. I follow YouTube pages. I follow hashtags. I speak to people who have been in it for like 15, 20 years. I speak to couples that are younger than me that just started in like their 20s and some of them are 22. And I really and truly, like I said, I educate myself. I read books on it. I read articles on it because I think it's important. And long story short, since going down like this open relationship polygamy path, one day, I'm with like somebody that I've been talking to longer than the others. I get to prioritize who I'm giving my energy to. No, we don't have sex with everybody that we talk to or we find interest in. No, we don't kiss everybody. No, we don't take everybody out on the same dates. No, we don't fly everybody out. No, we don't meet everybody's parents. Everybody's in their own fucking categories. And as long as there's open transparency, as the good brother said on the show, everybody should be fucking okay. As long as you're fully transparent and honest, you should have no issues. The moment you lie, it's over.
All right, thank you, Distinguished, and thank you for showing us the book. Rachel,
no doubt.
How did you feel about your interview with Homeboy?
So I thought it was great. Like, honestly, it's something that we spoke about when him and I first got involved. But as Distinguished mentioned, he never like had a coerce into joining the lifestyle or anything like that, which I definitely appreciated. But for me personally, I, in the same respect, didn't want to try to ask him to change the person he was or change his lifestyle and be a one man. So I just like ultimately felt like, we kind of come from two different worlds and see things two different ways. So this might not work. I didn't want to dive too deep into that and set myself up for disappointment, but we're still really good friends and it's just a great conversation to have. I'm still learning about the topic. And I know there's a lot of people like me that are really ignorant to what polyamorous relationships are really like. So I just feel like it was important to tell my listeners what the deal is.
Absolutely. So, okay.
Great. Thank you so much for saying those words, Rachel. We appreciate you in the polycule community. We appreciate you. I'm learning as well.
And I learned a new word.
There we go.
Polycule.
So, okay. Well, here's my take on a lot of this. My first take is this, okay? a lot of what I feel is happening is polyamorous relationships are, the definition is changing, because traditionally when people spoke about polyamorous relationships, they were talking about 3 people majority of the time. And now they are changing the definition. There are people changing the definition to also include what I think niggas do when they date. So like if you're dating and you date multiple people, technically now it's a polyamorous, you're in a polyamorous situation.
Or an open relationship.
But open relationship is considered polyamorous.
Yeah.
Nowadays. And that's where I kind of have an issue with it, because I don't think the two should be grouped together. I think if you're open, like if you're in an open situation where you're still dating, figuring certain things out, or you are have agreed that you and such partner is in an open situation, and that's an open situation. I don't know if that necessarily needs to be grouped in with polyamorous relationships, because in that there seems to be a certain standard and set of rules that make it a little separate from that. So I think that we're in this space now where we're just grouping a lot of shit together. And that, I think there's an agenda behind that. I kind of feel like there's an agenda behind it to make it seem like it's more of this thing that happens all the time that more people are doing than you know. And that's not necessarily what the statistics say. So that is my only like kind of pushback. Everybody should be making the decision that's going to work for them, right? Like if that is what you want for your life, if you think that's going to work, if you think that's going to make you happy, cool. My other thing is, and Rachel, I want to know what your take is before I go into my take. Did you feel like he made a strong enough argument as to why somebody would choose this over any other form of a relationship?
Well, I'm a little biased to answer that because it wasn't.
That's okay. That's fine.
For me, like it wasn't a strong enough argument for me, but that's because I am old school, old fashioned, set on my ways. But like I did get feedback from a few people who were thinking like, you know what, this sounds interesting. I wanna like dive more into it, hear more about it, type of thing. So speaking for me, it wasn't convincing for me because it sounds like double the stress. If I'm in a relationship with 2 men, say if I'm in a polyamorous relationship with 2 men, that's 2 men I have to give my attention, affection, and love to. That's a lot.
Right.
And I always feel like one person will get the short end of the stick, and I wouldn't be able to fully invest myself in either one. So they'd each not be getting like what they could be getting out of it. So regardless of that, for me, it's not for me. But I do think that he made some arguments because I feel like a lot of people think that it's just about sex. And
Thank you.
He did, yeah. So he did explain it in a way that it's deeper than that. It's a lot more involved than that. So I think in that respect, he may have piqued some people's interest.
I would agree. I think that he made a differential in terms of it not just being this thing that's about threesomes. I think he made a good argument for that. I don't necessarily feel like, and I don't think it's necessarily my bias making me feel this way. I just don't think that what was said was strong enough to make it seem like, yo, this relationship has more benefits than X, Y, and Z. It's still a choice as to whatever it is that you want to do, but it doesn't seem like it offers X, Y, and Z benefit that you won't get from such and such relationship, or you won't get from this type of relationship, or whatever the case is. I didn't personally hear that distinguish. Did you feel like you heard anything that gave more
No, well, you know, I'm not gonna say all of it, but I definitely did have, again, like I told you, I did have a private conversation with Rachel in the inbox, and for myself, I concluded from hearing from the episode, there's a lot that could have actually been said. Talking about it now on the air, I mean, he could have, if he really wanted to, being that he's been in the life for quite some time, he could have went the textbook route like I just did and really go through statistics, you know, and bring up people who have been in it, or bring up cultures that have been doing it, and then maybe did something like that to bring more, you know, like more of the life into the forefront of why it can be an important staple or it can be like the new face of what people deem as a relationship, because a lot of people don't think polyamorous is the polyamorous lifestyle is a relationship. They think it's just for fun and games, for shits and giggles. They don't, like, people have been living that lifestyle for years. Mormons have been living that lifestyle for years. So if he would have went that route, maybe he would have had more of a stronger argument for people who are just like, you know, naive and ignorant to it, and they don't really want to hear anything about it. Me personally, I've benefited from it by just living my fucking life and just posting photos and just going away and just doing what the fuck I do, because I tell people that are involved with what the fuck I'm doing, and we know what the fuck it is we do. We don't need to tell the whole world. People just make their opinion of what it is that they think. And, you know, somebody told me the other day, yo, every time I see you, it's like you always on fucking vacation. It's like, yeah, nigga, I'm living my life. You want me to just not be doing what I'm doing? Yeah, but it looks like you with somebody differently. Do you care? Do you want to jump on board? Or you don't? So don't worry about the fuck I'm doing.
So yeah, I think again, it's a personal decision. I would just say in terms of practicality on not everybody's individual situation. Everybody's going to find individual reason why they think X, Y, and Z works for them. And I think that that's totally fine. But in a practicality sense, if we look at like history and stuff like that, polyamorous relationships mainly benefited societies or kingdoms. Like I just watched a documentary that was all about the samurai in ancient Japan. And most of the times it wasn't really even considered a relationship, but rulers would have concubines, and concubines would exist. You know, there's different versions of it. You would have some rulers who would do it just for the sexual pleasure of dealing with another woman, but it was also, again, you're exuding a source of power. You have the power to have 30 concubines because you're able to maybe provide or whatever. And then in turn, there was a situation where one dude who was ruling his kingdom couldn't have a baby with his wife. So he ended up having a baby through the concubine. And it was important to have a baby and to have a son because that was how they were passing down the kingdom. That was how they were passing down the line.
So his wife had a sister wife, basically.
Well, no, there was a concubine, and
it's just another. The next lady. The purpose of her being there was for the fact of bearing child.
Right. So you can't technically call it a relationship, and so that is traditionally where this source of a relationship stems from. You'll find that in multiple different kingdoms. However, again, the research also suggests that it's not as popular, or not, I won't say popular, but it's not as widespread as we kind of assume or think at times. I think they said roughly the highest, the countries that do it the most are in Africa, and the one in Africa that has the highest rate is only still 11% of that particular country that is invested in that. What I do feel like is the issue, and not with polygamy, but with some of the niggas that try to go into the lifestyle, is unfortunately they've become the face, and they make it seem very patriarchal. Like every time I see it, it's always about one nigga with two girls. And why is that the case? If it's really just this thing where niggas is just about they want to just date whoever they want to date, why isn't the face of it, or why isn't it equally represented with one woman with two niggas? Like that would be my question, because that is what I oftentimes see. Rachel, do you have any input on that?
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like if you listen to that episode, I was saying that it seems very like beneficial for the man. I mean, he did state that there are, like, he's familiar with other situations where it's one woman and she's in a relationship with two men. I've personally never seen it. But I'm wondering if women would be as open about it, if it's more taboo for women to be open about having two boyfriends. So that's my thing. Like I haven't personally seen it, and I do feel like this whole situation favors the men. And I'm wondering, like, long term, And I guess distinguish is kind of my question for you. Like long term, what do you see your end game being? Like, do you want a family? How would that like structurally look?
So I still want a family, and I'm gonna go quickly to what Dom had said because I have the same view. Because I'm a motherfucking open book. Everybody should know that at this point. Online, on air, real life. If the shit don't pan out, they just don't pan out. I'm okay with seeing if I can still find what I think I can find in a monogamous relationship. However, a part of me, according to what I learned in this book, might be going the consensual non-monogamy route, which means I'm in a relationship, whatever that relationship is. And if I'm having sex with the person that I'm with, that person knows that this is a non-monogamous relationship. Every once in a while, I will have sex with other people. And if you're going to be with distinguished, you have to accept that. If you don't want to accept that, you can't be with distinguished. I'm not changing it. Nothing you can say or do is going to make me change my mind about it. He also said, which I also am open to, he wouldn't be opposed if he was in a 3-person relationship and another man was in a relationship with him. I don't remember him being opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that. If the shit makes sense, it makes sense. That doesn't mean I'm having sex with the other man. That doesn't mean that the man wants to have sex with me. That may mean we're 2 men who are in a relationship with said woman who is okay with 2 men being in this relationship. There's a term in the book called a metamor. A metamor is when you are in a relationship with 2 people, but those 2 people that you're in a relationship with, they do not do things with each other. You're the only person that does something with one or the other at separate points of the relationship. You're still in a relationship, but those 2 people would be metamors for each other. They don't do anything with each other. You might do group things, but those group things have nothing to do with sex.
Rachel, you said you had a question?
Well, he kind of answered it because I wanted to know if he was in a relationship with a woman and, you know, she has to be okay with him just having sex with other people, would you then be okay with her having sex with other people as well?
Yes. She could have sex with other people. She could date other people. She could leave the country with other people. She could do whatever the fuck she wants. No handcuffs. And anybody that I talk to, anybody that I've spoken to, I tell them this up front. If you feel like I am making you upset or making you uncomfortable because you might see me going out with this person, or you may, you know, obviously I tell you that I'm gonna have sex with this person. If you feeling freaky and willy-nilly and you want to do the same shit with somebody else, go do it. You want to go out on a date with somebody else, go do it. You want to have sex, go do it. And it's not that I care about you less. It's that, yo, whatever it is that I'm doing, I want to make sure we're in the same playing field. You can do the same shit.
It's just hard for me to grasp that because a lot of men, I don't want to say all men because that's probably not the case, but most men are not okay with sharing their woman. Like men have this, I don't know.
I think most people, I agree with you.
Complex. Yeah, like men don't like competition. Men don't like to share what's theirs, that type of thing. So yeah, it's hard for me to believe that.
I'm going to take it off of distinguished. I'm not speaking about you particularly, but men and I'm not even men. Let me not even say men. People in general, I think a lot of people who fantasize, again, and this is not about distinguished, but I think a lot of men, because I've seen this, there was a dude and he was promoting this meme page. And when I got on the meme page, it was all of these pictures of, again, 1 man, 2 women. And then the women oftentimes were depicted in a submissive position while the man was sitting in a chair, the man was being catered to, whatever have you. And I do feel like, and I'm not speaking for all, because again, I do believe that there are some people that fully invest themselves in that lifestyle and it benefits them for whatever reason. Everyone is happy. I just think that's a small percentage. I think that the reality for many people, or the reality that many people will find, is one, you can't get over the jealousy. That jealousy will always be there. Like, there's always going to be a time and a space where one person is going to feel catered to more than the other. There's going to be a time, if you're a man and you got two women and one woman gets pregnant, you got to cater her to her and maybe give.
And Dom definitely mentioned that in the episode. He definitely said there was times where one of his partners felt a certain way about the other one, or the other one felt a certain way about the other one, and he either had to play mediator or they were mad at him. So it's taxing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But on top of that, what happens if both people get sick and you end up giving one more time than the other? These are things that build, like, these are things that kind of happen in single people relationships where people kind of take a mental tab of, oh, well, this person didn't do this the way I wanted them to. And now, one, you're splitting your time. You automatically have to split your time, right? You automatically are giving energy in two different directions. And yeah, the other person can be given that other individual some time and affection too, and maybe that makes up for it. But I oftentimes feel like it's a man presenting this situation to two women, and sometimes, not every time, but sometimes, and Rachel did touch on this in her episode, the woman is doing it because it was brought up by the man, and she maybe want to try it just to kind of please the man to some extent. And oftentimes, again, I don't really see the opposite. So it just kind of raises a bunch of questions about if part of it is just the male fantasy of having multiple women drawn all over them and being able to boost their ego by walking into a space and being like, listen, I got two or more women with me, X, Y, and Z. Now, again, I do know that there are different forms of polygamy, now that they're putting everything under an umbrella. But the face of it, what is being pushed mainstream, is oftentimes the V-shape polygamy, and is oftentimes with the man at the center of it. So
I'm glad you mentioned ego, because I do think that's why a lot of like the other side of it with a woman and two men, I do think that's why that doesn't come out a lot, because I don't feel like men are prideful. I don't feel like a man would be as open with saying, you know, I share my girlfriend with another man. Then a woman would be, you know, willing to say, you know, well, me and my boyfriend, there's another girl involved or whatever. I don't feel like men would as quickly admit to that.
That's an interesting point. That is an interesting point. Well, ladies and gentlemen, go check out that episode. We don't want to give too much of the juice away with that, but